something I'm seeing increase in my business, which is collection, people hiring us for collections, liens, money's not paid. Old clients that I haven't seen in a long time are coming back because they're having collection issues. And so there's been an uptick in not getting paid or not getting paid on time. And I kind of wanted to address what I think is going on, proper way to handle it, some ideas on how to resolve this. And this is and it happens with everybody in construction, right? Getting paid is some of the times you're working and then waiting to get paid. But a lot of times it's my commercial clients that are doing big commercial projects that this is really an issue for. And I think what is really happening is that we've been so busy, we've had so many jobs going on, the cash flow has just been pouring in and pouring in. And so we really didn't spend time to think about, oh, look at all of these invoices that are not being paid, right? Look at all these open invoices I still need to collect because I have cash flow coming in. It's not really a big issue. We can worry about that at a later date. And so then I'm getting phone calls with people of hundreds of thousands of dollars of open invoices, which is fine. And we can do damage control and we can make phone calls and do collection phone calls. And if we're in time, we can file liens, right? Not sure if we'll be able to file liens depending on the timelines for your state, but there's definitely collections efforts that we can take to collect that money. But when you're in a situation like damage control like that, it's generally harder to collect the money, right? As where you start sooner, you have more touch points, give them more opportunities. If you can have a lien, you have a lot more leverage, right? And so some of the files that I'm getting over the hundreds of $1,000s to collect are out of lien timelines, right? And so in that situation, I have to go after the general contractor instead of the general contractor and the owner, right, to get paid. And in those situations, it's a lot more difficult to get paid, right? It just takes longer. Would probably most times it'll end up in a lawsuit. So it kind of makes the situation a little more difficult. And so what the best collection strategy is when we're working on a consistent collection strategy at all times, right? And so what does that look like? A consistent collection strategy is based on your cash flow needs and the lien laws of your state of when we have to send notice and all of that stuff. Like you can always do it early. Some states require pre-lien notice, all of that, right? So really, you shouldn't have an invoice older than 60 days before you take actions, right? So the main thing is even if you have a collection issue now, let's work on handling it. But also we're going to work on handling these open invoices. But what can we do on a consistent basis to stop these invoices from accruing in the first place, right? Really, the key to any awesome collection strategy is to be consistent, right? It's to set that timeline. So you set a timeline at 60 days. We're gonna make phone calls. We're gonna send letters, whatever it is, and that means it's 60 days, no matter who it is, no matter who the client is, no matter how much your sales team's bitches that, hey, if we go try to collect this money, they're not going to hire us on other jobs. Well, if you're not making money, does it really make sense to go work for these people again, right? So all of that things needs to come into play and just create a written strategy. At this point, we're going to take action, and I'll get into some what options that looks like in just a second, and be consistent with it. Do the same thing every time. I can tell you with the big material supplier clients that I deal with, I can get their write-off to less than 1% because they have a consistent collection strategy and they follow it every time, right? And most of that, almost over 90% of that, is without ever going to litigation because they're sending the letters, they're making the phone calls, no matter who their customer is. It's not personal, it's business, right? They want to get paid, you want to get paid. And I have a side note here. If somebody is getting upset because you're making phone calls or you're sending a collection letter, do you think they'd be upset if they haven't been paid? No, because in that case, you're going to help them collect the money that they're owed. The only reason a person is going to get upset if you make collection phone calls or you send collection letters is if they have been paid and they didn't pay you, right? Because it makes them look bad. If they haven't been paid, they'll be like, they go to their client, their customer, say, hey, you haven't paid me. You're going to start getting lien notices. If you want to prevent that, pay me so I can pay my subs or I can pay my material suppliers, right? The people who get upset the most is because they've already been paid and they used your money for something else, right? So just keep that as a side note. That is not a reason. If somebody gets pissed or upset, that's not a reason to set aside your collection strategy, right? This is to protect your company, your family, the money that you use to make payroll for everybody that works for you so they can feed their family and so you can stay in business. This is like cash flow is 101 to the life of business, right? Have a consistent collection strategy. Be consistent about it no matter what anybody says, right? So some ways to, obviously write a consistent collection strategy. If you need some ideas, we can talk about the different ways to set that up. Really and honestly, the best way, if possible, is to outsource your collections. And that can look like a couple of different things, right? You can hire somebody in-house to be, accounts payable, to make collection phone calls. And at least that way, you're separating it from the sales team. But as with anything, as with a business owner, right, that we are not really good at or we are not experts in, the best thing we can do is hire somebody that is an expert in that, right? Hire somebody that does collections and has a dedicated collection teams, right? Of course, I'm biased to the Cromeans Law Firm and our collection team. We do liens and collections in all states. We can help you develop a collection strategy based on the lien rights of your states, based on your cash flow needs. And what that looks like is at the beginning of every month, or depending on when your lien notices have to go out, you send us your open invoice report and we'll tell you, hey, we need these files. We're going to send these notices. We'll make phone calls. If you don't want us to make phone calls, we won't. We'll just send the notices. So a couple of benefits from that. You have a team that just does collections. That's all we do. Also, it comes on law firm letterhead, which is impressive and can get people motivated to pay their bills, right? So outsourcing collections, there are other collection firms. There's collection firms that don't charge anything up front. Usually most of those are not attorneys. They're just collection firms, which they can get you so far. They'll take a certain percentage. Our law firm, we do, like if you have one or two, we have flat fee pricing. If you have more than one or two a month collection files that need notices, we can create an individualized subscription model that is less than hiring somebody in-house, right? For that same price of hiring an employee, you can have a whole dedicated collection team with lawyers to review things and letters that go out on our letterhead, right? Honestly, when we do this initial meeting, you're going to send over your initial paperwork, your open invoice report, and we're going to talk about like what information do you get when you open a project? Who's the sub working for? Do we know where the job is? Because all of this information we're going to use to create your collection strategy, right? That's based on your state and based on the lien rights. Because honestly, lien rights are huge leverage in getting paid without ever having to file a lawsuit, right? Because the lien is an interest, or it's a lien against somebody else's property, right? For the value of labor and material that you provided. So it's huge leverage in getting you paid without ever filing a lawsuit. Owners don't like liens on their properties. Owners will make sure GCs take care of liens, or that they get taken care of. That, a property can't be sold or refinanced without the liens being taken care of. So it's a huge thing and it's a huge leverage. And if you create a consistent collection strategy that includes the lien rights and sending the notices that you need to send, I promise you it will drastically improve collecting your open invoices, right? I can do damage control. I can collect as much of your outstanding invoices that are out of time for lien rights, but where I can make the most difference is we're doing that, but we're also looking at what's coming down the pipe. Like, okay, this one needs a notice. This one, you need to send it to me so I can do the research. I mean, I'll do the research and you can send the notices, the first round of notices, and then we can send the second one. So it really kind of depends on, how aggressive you want to be within the lien rights, right? That is the key. And so, like I said, we have flat fees. We have subscription pricing that are based on the amount of files that you need per month. And plus, then you can make us the bad guys, right? My law firm, my lawyer said I have to send these notices out to protect myself. And that's absolutely true. You do, because that way you will get paid and you'll get paid faster. And once you become consistent, as you know, there's a lot of contractors out there who are not consistent. If you become consistent in sending your notices and making phone calls and filing liens when you have to, you get moved to the front of the payment line, right? If they know, hey, these are the bills I got to pay. I don't have all of the money, but I have most of it. Who am I going to pay? They're going to pay the one that has a consistent collection strategy. You're going to get moved to the front of the line, right?